Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunnigan, and today we have a special guest returning.
It's-a me! Craig Johnson from Project Saviour.
Craig Johnson from the old Indie Comics Club podcast from back in the day when we used to do all the fun reviews on indie comics and so on and spread the joy and magic of other people's creations and our own.
Was it joy?
Yeah, I don't know. There were some books that were interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's true.
But then there was some really amazing stuff we found. So, you know,
Oh yeah, there was some amazing books.
Yeah, so there are some ones that I feel if we didn't do that podcast, we would never have known about, you know?
That's true.
Back in the good old days of Comic Central and, you know, that nice, fun community time period.
Yeah, those were the days.
Well, other than that, Craig, how have you been doing? Dude, we haven't really, we've talked online, of course, but we haven't talked I was going to say in person as in a podcast in a good while.
No, it's been a very long time. I'm good, though. You?
I'm doing good myself. I've just been trucking away on all kinds of, not only just the comic book, but podcast and trying to get all kinds of different alternative, you know, advertising and different little projects in between and see how that all kind of turns out.
Oh, that's all right, then.
Now, did you have a Comic-Con just recently with, because I know you got your new book out, Project Saviour number 6.
Sunday just gone.
Uh-huh. How'd that go?
It was all right. Like, again, it's one of them things where it's called a Comic-Con, but it's not for comics.
Is it where just like a bunch of action figures and like fan art and whatnot?
Do you know what it is? I wouldn't be too miffed if that was the case. But so the place they did it was like 2 stories. There's one. The downstairs was a big open room, and then upstairs was a big room, and then a bunch of little smaller rooms. And this year I got tossed into one of the little rooms, and then down in the main room you've got people selling soap.
What?
Oh, so it literally is like a craft
like Batman
fair.
shaped at least?
Sorry?
Is it at least like Batman shaped or Superman shaped or something? Or is it just soap?
Just soap.
Just soap, like, you know, Fight Club style.
Like Comic-Cons nowadays are just Comic-Cons in name only. They're not for comics at all.
Well, it's like the thing. Or go ahead, real quick.
Like a couple of years ago, they said, "Oh, we're trying to push like the whole like comic side of Comic-Con, so like we're gonna try and look after like actual creators," and that lasted all of about 5 minutes.
You know, because that's the thing that I always say about the Comic-Cons is like I really would like to see a Comic-Con that was purely comic books and nothing else, like one of those ones, and it doesn't even have to be that big. Let's be honest, you could probably do that in just like a decent size comic book store where you invited, you know, 10 to maybe 20 different comic book creators, because that's generally more than most Comic-Cons, even the biggest Comic-Cons, you know what I mean? And that's just, it was specialized in that, and everybody knew what they were kind of getting into because they knew that, like, hey, I want to go to a Comic-Con and I want to find something that I can't normally find somewhere else. Because when I initially went to Comic-Cons, that was the number one thing I was looking for, was like, what's something that I can't just go into a regular store and find? What's something that I can't just go into like Barnes and Noble, you know, or Borders at that time period, and then, you know, just even a regular comic book store and find some special stuff. And I noticed that that's just kind of getting pushed to the sidelines, and it's almost becoming too many different things in one. And I know that always is kind of it's a burden on a lot of people too, because, you know, especially a lot of comic book creators kind of have become sort of jaded because of these things. But the thing is I think for a promoter, the more shit you can kind of shove into like one event, that's okay, because you're just selling tickets. That's all you care about. It doesn't make a difference what it is. Who cares what the booth is? You know, the person could be selling free puppies, you know, and just, as long as they paid $200 to get a booth and they, you know, people are coming in through the door, it doesn't make a difference, you know. But I feel for the creators, the downfall is now we've just got a lot of people coming on in that literally could care less about comic books. Like, I always, this is what I refer to it as. There's a lot of people that come in who they're never going to read ever, so you have no chance in hell in selling them a comic book.
No.
I feel like I've been seeing a lot more smaller Comic Cons pop up as of probably 2015, I feel like, or 2000, yeah, around 2015, 2016. Because I noticed that's where a lot of just local small town comic. I mean, sure they happened before, but a lot of local small town comic cons started popping up, and you would see a lot of the same vendors there, and you're like, oh hey, what's up? Because you see them from the previous one. But then after a while, I noticed people that actually made comics starting getting kind of like showing up less and less and less, to the point of if I was at one with Spencer, you go to him a lot more frequently now. But if I was with one at you, there was you and maybe like 2 other people selling actual comic books, where for a while I remember there would be like at least 10 people there selling their own original stuff, own original comic at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, it's still kind of like that. Whenever I go to a Comic-Con, I'm mostly one out of probably a maximum of 5 other fellas and ladies that are selling comic books, or at least in the indie circuit. Sometimes they might have a couple of the older gentlemen and so on from back in the day that, drew, Wonder Woman in 1970 and so on like that. And I'll say that's fine. Like, I feel like a good Comic-Con should have a mixture of like, hey, here's your classic DC and Marvel artists from way back in the day, and then mix that in. Like, they should almost be intertwined with the indie comic books. And I think that's something that's kind of missing, is that I kind of hate to sort of say it, but I think the promoters, once again, they're just selling tickets at the end of the day. That's all they got to do, is they just got to sell tickets, and then they've done their job. But I wish someone would kind of come in and be like, let's put it together and really hit that comic book part hard, and get it, like, take out the fan art, take out the action figures. And it's not saying there's anything wrong with that kind of stuff. It's just, a lot of times, just because someone buys an action figure, that doesn't mean they're even remotely interested in comic books. Just because someone's into wrestling doesn't mean that they're going to be into comic books. Like, I like all that kind of stuff, but I realize that the average person is, a lot of times, they like their one thing, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I also noticed... Oh, go ahead, Craig.
The Comic-Cons over here, like, there's like two, maybe 3 people like selling like back issues and like signed stuff from like the big ones. But 9 times out of 10, I'm the only actual comic creator there, and you just get sidelined to fuck.
Well, the worst part too is I think it throws off the audience, because they see so much other stuff that by the time they see an independent comic book creator and someone like that, they almost don't know how to react right off the bat. You almost got to like it really explain what you do, because I just noticed that too. Yeah. Like the last handful of Comic Cons I've been doing, I've been trying to like find like what's some other like kind of stuff I can have here to explain that I make comic books, because I don't know how many times people will pick up my book and they'll flip through and be like, "Oh, it's a comic book," and it's like,
"What the fuck do you think you're selling at a Comic Con?"
Yeah, did you not read my big banner behind me that says Pizza Boys, the sitcom style indie comic book series? I'm like, well, wait a second. Reading.
Well, someone asked me on Sunday whether I had Old Man Logan in stock.
As I say, I get that too, where they're like, "Hey, you got any like 1976 like Daredevil comics?" No.
I do it back on my shelf at home.
No, but you can take this Pizza Boys one. It might have a Daredevil reference in it.
Like someone asked us, they were like, "So is this part of Marvel or DC?" And I went, "Neither."
Wow. Well, I guess that's the thing, because when I don't know about you, Craig, but the places we've been to more frequently, at least I've been to, it seems like, well, it's like, it's the middle of Central Valley of California, not a whole lot going on like a Sunday or whatever, and then people just kind of like, "Oh, look, it's a Comic Con. We've seen one of those Marvel movies. Let's go check it out. We'll bring little Billy too." It's kind of what it sort of becomes, and it's just a bunch of old people. I mean, you get the fans like, "Oh my god, we like comic book fans showing up and looking for anything," and then you get people just like, "We got an afternoon to kill. It's only $5 to get in. Let's see what's up."
Yeah,
pretty much.
And the downfall is you can have like 10,000 people walking through that door, but if 9,000 of them are just people that just say, "Hey, I got $5 and it's, I got time off. I'm up on a holiday. I don't want to see the in-laws anymore." Like the downfall is you get the kind of the lollygaggers, and as they're kind of coming through, you hate to sort of say it, but an event needs to be really specific towards like the audience that you want to come in there, so that for the salespeople, you can actually, sell some stuff. And if you have people that are coming in a sense, I've kind of summed up, I call it the people that don't read, and it's like, that's kind of it. If someone doesn't care to read, you know what I mean? Because, that doesn't mean if it's a novel or a comic book or something like that. If people don't read, they don't read, and they're not going to watch a subtitled movie either, you know what I mean, at the end of the day. So, if I don't have those kind of people, it's like it's kind of like it kind of goes against that. And I almost even kind of wonder, like, what would it be like to go to a book kind of fair one, or am I going to go to like a book fair and then there's going to be that guy over there who's like, oh, look at Mr. Funny Pages over here, thinking he's going to sell what kids aisles over that direction. Real authors are here. I'm like, boy, that guy's really angry and real tough for a guy who writes books.
I really like to imagine that guy is like writing like a romance novel, like aimed at women.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just giving me shit because I got picture books. But I kind of almost got to that point where it's like, because I kind of hate to say it, but like some of the Comic-Cons, because of just that, there's too many things shoved into one nowadays. I mean, you can't have that many different things in there because, let's be honest, it's like, there's very few people that are into like the full multimedia spectrum. You know what I mean? It's almost like that's not the most common thing to kind of go, hey, this person likes not only like comics, they like video games, they like movies, they like sci-fi, they like wrestling, they like TV, and yada, 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 yada. Most people, they like about 2 or 3 things, and that's kind of it. And we're getting this kind of culture clash inside, an area that people think being similar. You know what I mean? Did I lose you there for a second? I saw it pop.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sorry. There's a delay there on my end. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's got the delay as well.
But yeah, it's just, because I've even thought about
But yeah, I think you're right. There is a little bit of a culture clash, and there is just people that just kind of like need an afternoon to kill. It is funny, though, to bring it to the main topic. Whenever I go to any Comic-Con and there's a guy selling old toys, I always see Superman Doomsday action figures, and it's always of the robot. Nobody wanted the robot. There might be 1 or 2 Doomsdays. There might be like a Lois Lane, but there is always the robot.
Poor robot. Nobody wants it. Well, there's always that action figure like in a set that I always kind of feel bad for. That's like they put it there because you have your 5 characters you got to have, and then there's always that one where it's like, well, if we got a space to fill for that one. But the weird thing too is sometimes they'll be like, why did you make a Lex Luthor like action figure? Like, oh, we're gonna be ballsy and make the Superman robot instead.
Did not roll out in our favor. I always saw, Lex Luthor would be popping up too, but I mean, movie doesn't have that. I don't even think they have a Toyman figure for this, but I mean, granted, he's in and out of that movie.
Wait, in this version too, you get gothic like kid Toyman,
voiced by Bender and I forgot his real name, John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you noticed or not, because this is one of them. That moment in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn kicks the helmet and everyone's like, "Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it." Because that little bit of trivia.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of that in Superman Doomsday, right at that bit with Toyman. Because when he stops Toyman, and then there's a guy in the street voiced by Kevin Smith going like, "We needed him to take care of the giant mechanical spider."
Yeah.
That's a callback to the script that Kevin Smith was made to write by John Peters that had Superman fight the spider.
Yeah, because that guy, he's like, he wanted a spider so bad that he finally got his giant spider.
He got it in the end, though. He got it in Wild Wild West, but I just thought it took us a while, and then I think I rewatched it years ago, and I heard him say that, and I went, son of a bitch. That's what that's about. I always wonder why Kevin Smith had that one random line in it.
He technically also, it doesn't have like 8 legs or whatever, or 6 legs. The spiders have 8 or 6.
8.
8. It doesn't have 8 legs, but you do have the world generator thing propping down in Metropolis and Man of Steel. And that, too, was produced by John Peters to some level. So,
yeah.
Snuck it in there again, that son of a bitch.
So you get that kind of
stuff. Did have 8,
Uh-huh.
I literally just watched it this afternoon.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I probably haven't actually watched this one. It feels like in 10 years. And this Superman Doomsday is kind of the interesting one because it's the very first of, I would say, the modern run of the DCU kind of straight to DVD animated movies where they started making them kind of adult-like. Though we did learn that Gen 13, the long lost one, was extremely adult-like, and that was hidden back in the 90s, hidden in Australia and whatnot. But This one here is the start of that run because, before this, we have Batman Mask of the Phantasm. There's Batman and Mr. Freeze. Most of them are all Batman ones. Because is there a Superman movie that ties in with the animated series that's not like a, hey, here's 3 episodes strung together in a movie?
World's Finest.
Yeah, I think that's one of them, though. I think that was like a special, and
Yeah,
they just
it was
there's 3 episodes mashed together or something.
Well, because there's also, I remember there's the Batman Superman movie, not the ones that came later, but there's one that's based on the animated series. But I think that's just the one where they take 3 episodes from the show, and that's the one where Bruce Wayne shows up and just starts like courting like Lois Lane for a bit, and Superman's like, Lois.
Yeah, they took the 3 episodes. I might have even just been 2 episodes from Superman the animated series and just tossed it into a film because it had never been done before.
Yeah.
Well, I also remember on WB, they had it's the Superman Batman show, and everybody was just so amped because it was like, oh my God, it's the Superman Batman TV show. And then you realize, oh, it's just one or the other. They just play an episode of Superman or they play an episode of Batman, and that's what it is. God damn it. So it's just one of those kind of things. But, in time, we actually did get the World's Finest and all. Actually, I think the World's Finest came up first, and then this is just kind of like a little syndication run thing. So
didn't that Batman Superman hour or whatever also have its own special intro too, if I remember correctly?
It was just bits from World's Finest.
Yeah, I mean they just sort of combined it together, but I remember it had its own kind of intro to it and everything like that. It still was kind of a neat thing though. You have just those combined together because you have both Batman and Superman out at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's strange how it took them so long to get the animated films going, because there was a massive gap between the last original one they did, which I think was Mystery of Batwoman.
Yeah, I want to say that one is, and I think that's 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sure that was their last. That was their last original animated film, and then they went, right, Superman Doomsday, and then from here we're going to release 2 to 3 a year.
Yeah.
And I remember when this came out, and it was like, oh shit, they're doing that one first?
I think it was because it was close to when Superman Returns came out. So I think to help promote it, now's the time to drop something Superman related straight to DVD. Let's make it Doomsday.
The year after?
Yeah, I think it was right as Returns was coming out to DVD or Blu-ray or something close to it. It was almost more treated as something, even though I think it's better than Superman Returns. It's more treated as a way to help kind of boost that up,
Mm-hmm.
Superman Returns is underrated.
Yeah,
I think it's a good movie, but it's not I think this one is better, in my personal opinion. But it is a good movie.
Well, it's one of those ones the Superman Doomsday is kind of at first glance, if you are kind of into the comic verse and so on, it's the short and sweet version of Death and Return of Superman.
The short and sweet version because they cut out so much.
But I feel like the more I've kind of come back and watched this one, it's one of those ones I really always enjoy this one, and it just is the speed run version of it. But it's also I feel like it's another one of those ones it's a good gateway film. If someone's hey, I kind of want to get into Superman, I really don't know anything about it, where should I start? I feel like this movie right here be here, take this movie for a ride. You know what I mean?
I do enjoy the one because they redid it, didn't they, a couple of years ago?
In a 2-parter.
Yeah.
In a 2-parter, which I really enjoyed because they actually fleshed it out and kept in the good bits. But this was I remember because this one was just balls to the wall, fight.
Mm-hmm.
The fight with Doomsday was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really well animated. I must say, rewatching it again today, I did notice that there's not an awful lot going on.
Yeah, it is kind of it was. I mean, it's simple and stuff, and that's why I think it's kind of it's a good gateway Superman one because you're not going to get over clustered with a bunch of backstory or anything like that. It's kind of just hey, I mean, I guess
they don't give you anything.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't even have if you really actually now I'm thinking about it. If you didn't know anything about Superman, let's say you knew nothing, you saw a picture of Superman and that was it. Well, this one doesn't even you wouldn't even realize wait, is he an alien? What's going on here? It doesn't even explain any of that. It kind of expects you to know at least a little bit. You know what I mean?
It was also Adam Baldwin's gateway because this wasn't his last first and last appearance as Superman, because he continued to be Superman in a DC Online.
Oh, I guess that's right.
Oh.
I don't know if he's been recast since, but he was in DC Online for a long time.
Yeah.
Somebody had to watch like Firefly and see him as Jane, and be like, this guy who's always scheming to fuck him over. That's our Superman.
Yeah,
To be fair, though, he did a good job.
He did, and I think James Masters absolutely just stole the show whenever he was Lex Luthor. He was a creepy Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because when you look at this, because they made the active decision to make this PG-13, and I think that you probably could still show a kid this, like a little kid, but I think they're going for like our generation, people who grew up on the animated DC universe stuff, and then like straight to DVD movies, just the Bruce Timm style stuff. And for a minute, you think you're kind of watching a continuation of the Bruce Timm universe, and then you realize, oh well, this character looks kind of different, and like actually this is a different universe, but it just kind of has that Bruce Timm style to it. So that's kind of like the interesting thing about it, how they kind of try to rope you in and be like, oh wait, no, this is a different universe of it all.
Yeah, because it does give some of those good moments where it's just like, you think you could just be watching a Saturday morning cartoon show, and then it's kind of like, no. This Superman's getting serious. People are gonna die.
For me, it was because the art style is very similar, but it's how they chose to do, work in the highlights and stuff, especially on Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a lot of work going to try and make him look better than the standard Bruce Timm animated series, which worked most of the time, but it's when they added in the third layer of color or shadow, and he had that weird sort of highlight going across his chest, because he had the black, then blue, and then it was pretty much a white piece going through.
Mm-hmm.
Still cool though.
They're also trying to get across that he's been doing it for a while, because they went out of their way and made him look a little older with the wrinkles under his eyes and whatnot.
That always bugged me. I don't know why. It just looked out of place.
I guess either to get across that he's been doing it for a while, and this isn't the same. It is Bruce Timm style, but rather than the same exact designs, just different models for the characters. And I guess even Lois Lane, I'm not. It still looks like Lois. I mean, Anne Heche, I'll say that she seems to be doing kind of I feel like it was intentional. I've only seen her in two other movies off the top of my head that I can think of, which is Psycho and what was it? 7 Days, 7 Nights, something like that.
6 Days, 7 Nights, the Harrison Ford one?
Yeah, Harrison Ford one, yeah. Where it's kind of in this, she has kind of I'm Lois Lane, she, yeah. It's all biscuits, no gravy. Let me tell you something. There's something wrong here, she, yeah. Kind of a 1930s Chicago reporter voice at moments,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely got that a little bit more heavier accent to kind of, I don't know, solidify this, hey, she's from, Far East of, America, that is.
James Masters as Luthor, though, he was, because I still like this Lex Luthor. My favorite Lex Luthor is probably Clancy Brown Lex Luthor from Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, or the animated series.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the best Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's definitely the classic one.
Head, and even though he's not jacked or buffed or anything like that, he could shave his head, shave the beard, and just be Lex Luthor. I'd be fine with that. He just has that presence that can command a room.
Yeah,
it's the sort of it's that bit where he gets the clone Superman in the red room and just pounds on him. Then he's like, "Who's your daddy?" And I was like, "That's a little creepy, Lex." Not gonna lie to you.
He's 2 steps away just from teabagging him when he's on the floor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that's the other thing about this particular Lex Luthor, because I guess to me, the ultimate Lex Luthor is either animated series Lex Luthor or Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman Lex Luthor, where he is trying to be the epitome of man, where he is solving equations that are going to cure cancer while he's while he's doing squats, doing like 400 pounds or something like that, you know?
Mhm.
Where this one, it's more like he's all brains, no brawn, which makes sense. That's a good contrast. But I like the idea of a Lex Luthor who is a mad scientist, who is also a businessman, he knows one day he's probably gonna have to fight a superhero. So he's preparing for that. Now, James Masters still did a great job in his performance, but I guess I prefer the all-rounded Lex Luthor as opposed to the all brains Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I've always appreciated that that very like Lex Luthor is like, you know, the pinnacle of man in both brains and strength, and you know everything else is just dialed in. Like he's just the master. Like everything he could possibly learn, he wants to learn. He wants to be the best at everything, and I think that's just a cool concept because it's almost, you know, very similar. You know, it's just literally it's like an alternative Batman at the end of the day. You know.
Yeah.
He almost could be like a Batman villain when it gets down to it. He just happened to bump into Superman first.
It's pretty much kind of how it is, because it feels like, you know, he's almost designed to be the perfect, like that kind of like when you have like the mirror image kind of person where it's like they're only separated just by like a fine line of like what makes them do what they do. And I feel like that's what makes, you know, and I mean every once in a while, you know, you see Lex Luthor in like a Batman comic as like a villain, but you don't see it. I feel like you don't see it that often still. You know, they'll bump into each other if it's like a, you know, crossover Justice League or something like that. But I feel like you could have like a real strong, like good long run.
They've set it up in the comics that whenever Lex Luthor knows Batman's in Metropolis, he stops doing shady shit.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, if Batman's in Metropolis, just shut the fuck up. Like no one say shit. Just be quiet, and when he goes, we'll continue. Because apparently in one of the comics, like Batman like figures out he's doing something. He's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, I'm made of money. I can just make it go away. And Batman's like, all right, bet. Next day, Wayne Enterprises comes in and is like, right, we're going to take over. And he's like, what? Batman knows Bruce Wayne? Oh, come on, Lex, you're smarter than this. But he just doesn't. Lex Luthor doesn't fuck with Batman. He just knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Lex Luthor likes fighting Superman because he can challenge Superman mentally because he doesn't have the brawn to do it. Whereas Batman challenges him intellectually, and Lex doesn't like that. He doesn't like it when someone's of equal intelligence.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I'm almost thinking like, and you know, an Elseworlds kind of story. Maybe this probably could exist. I mean, there's so many comics out there, it's easy to kind of miss a certain section. But like, almost just the idea of just having one where it's a Batman, Lex Luthor, you know, 6 to 12 part like run, where you just get to see them really battle each other in multiple kind of like avenues. Like not only are they battling each other with like business, but they're battling each other with the minds, and then even just having them literally two men fight each other of equal strength, and you know, being kind of like the strongest of the strong as far as a human can go. Like I just think just like a whole run of that, and don't even have anybody else in there, no Superman, no nothing. It's just a Batman and Lex Luthor, like just back and forth.
I'd read that.
Yeah, as I said, it just sounds so cool. As I said, like it's like, you know, other than like Justice Leagues and like crossovers and things like that, you know, it's like I know it probably
World's
exists.
Finest was good though.
Oh yeah.
For like that, because he's like, oh well, we're gonna do this. And it's like, no, like I've got half of this contract. Well, you'll do as I say.
Yeah, exactly. You know. And plus, there's just good fun moments in that one too, because I just love how like when Bruce Wayne's there, he's just making like Clark Kent feel like kind of down. He's like, "Oh, Lois, don't go hang out with Bruce Wayne again. I know he's got. Oh, there she goes. Jimmy, follow her. Take pictures.
Not that many pictures.
Yeah, Jimmy, what are you doing? Don't show me that part. Oh, they're going into the restroom. That can't be good."
Well, that's just a good time.
You know, but I also like how in Superman Doomsday, how we get Jimmy like literally like turns coat on everybody and he starts working for the tabloid thing, and he just becomes kind of like Jimmy Olsen, the douchebag kind of reporter.
That just felt.
We all
that
cope
was just
differently.
kind of a weird twist. Like I don't really understand what that was for, other than just to have him do something.
I think I mean, whether they succeeded or not, I guess is up for debate. But I think what they were trying to do is like, all right, well, we're so used to Jimmy being like, general public is so used to Jimmy being like, Gee willikers, Miss Lane, I sure hope this all goes good. Shut the fuck up and take the picture, Jimmy. Okay, if you tell me to. And this is one where it's like, all right, well, without Superman, with his pal gone, he's kind of a little lost and kind of goes on just kind of like a, downward spiral.
I think it was a kid. I think it was trying to show his grief, like him dealing with it. I guess.
It's like the equivalent of having
Italian silk to cope.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of having a character being like, well, like, your best friend died. What are you doing? Well, I'm just out, banging hookers and doing blow and so on like that because I don't know how to relate with the world. But instead, like, in the newspaper world, the worst thing you can be doing is like, oh, he's out there working with the tabloid stuff, making that fake news. Where Perry White's just like, see, he literally hit rock bottom.
I mean, I think they alluded to Perry being a bit of an alcoholic.
They do, yeah. He doesn't drink as much as he used to up until Superman's dead, more or less.
So, like, I think there was a lot of untapped potential, but they were trying to keep it, like, what was it, 75 minutes?
Yeah, it's not the longest of the movies. It's definitely, at that kind of just, 10 minutes over an hour kind of run or so.
It is one of those things where it's interesting because it's like, you see this, and somebody said, like, all right, straight to DVD Superman animated movie. Okay, Superman Returns just came out. Make it PG-13. Wait, what? You want to make this PG-13? Yeah. I don't fucking know about that. Well, let's see what happens. And then because this is kind of the kickoff to that. And
it is.
Compared to other ones we get down the line, like, oh, wow, this one is a little ballsier than you'd expect it to be. And I think the first time I saw this, it was actually on Toonami. It was the first time I saw this.
Well, they had a premiere on there, but they edited it on Toonami.
Yeah, and then
it's definitely pushed the boundaries of it because I mean, like, as much as they try to turn the camera away from certain things, like Doomsday went to town on people and things.
And then there's also the idea of like you watch this and you don't think like it doesn't look like it's still okay. It's PG-13, sure, but it doesn't think like 10 years from now we're gonna get an R-rated Justice League Dark or R-rated Killing Joke. You don't think that looking at this,
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones that, like, and that's how it's always kind of been, is they sort of have a build-up as time goes on to these things where, like, each one sort of has added just that little bit of extra layer. I mean, just watching them for the point where I remember, like, the first time you're like, did they just say fuck in, like, a Justice League movie or something like that? You're like, what? Like, you almost had to rewind it. You're like, maybe I just kind of overheard. Maybe someone said puck, and I just misheard it. And then you're like, no. To, like, the point where it's like, oh, my God, they're showing nudity in these things now? Like, jeez.
The first time I think I noticed like a big curse word in one of these DC animated movies was Justice League Doom, and Cyborg said, "Oh shit," or something like that. We were watching it together. We both looked at each other like, "Did he just fucking say shit?"
Rewind that real quick. We got to make sure. We got to have that regular evidence.
Put on subtitles. He said shit, and then I want to say they would say shit once in a while through a few of them, and I think Suicide Squad Hell to Pay is the first one because like when Reverse Flash dies, he's like, oh fuck me, and just falls over dead.
Yeah, that's right. And then was that also the first one? No, I think there was one. I thought Suicide
was the first one with nudity.
Yeah,
Suicide Squad Hell to Pay had nudity.
I think that was the first one it did too because that one they really went to town on like pushing the envelope.
Where was the nudity in that one? Like,
it was when I think it was Vandal Savage's daughter and a girl from Apocalypse. I don't remember her name. She was getting out of like a hot tub or a pool or something, and for a split second, you see like a nipple or something, just for like a split second,
Yeah, I mean, it's just enough that like, and I guess as you just think of like where we've kind of come from, in the last like 30 years, you're just like each one of those little moments, it's like, whoa, what the hell? I've never seen that before, like in a DC animated movie. You know what I mean?
No, that is true.
It's not like
I probably sound super thirsty. You see like a nipple just for a second, but I guess when you see these movies evolve and kind of like change over the years, just those little things stick out to you. I guess
It's not like that weird moment when like Babs Tarr had like an OnlyFans account where she was drawing like naked versions of like Batgirl and Poison Ivy and all kinds of. You know that DC kind of came down like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you work for us, damn it.
She did that?
She did, because I remember I'd follow her on Twitter and I was like, what the hell? She's like, yeah, check out my OnlyFans.
He remembers because he was like, damn, I'm buying that.
like it's a Babs Tarr drawing. Of course you put that print on the wall.
Look, Ma, look what I got.
Well, that used to be the thing, though, when these movies kind of first came out, is there was that thing that we like, I mean, me and Ryan would always talk about, is because, you know, you got these movies that are like pushing PG-13 and then pushing like kind of, you know, R and working its way up. But, you know, from that like late 2000s into early 2010s, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, hey, here's 5-year-old Billy with me. He likes Superman. Here you go, Billy. Here, take one of these movies home. It's just a bunch of superhero like cartoon crap. Like, you know what I mean? Not realizing that, hey, by the way, these movies are PG-13 and some are going R.
I remember going to like Walmart one time and seeing a Batman killing joke directly in for the family and kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna, you know, usually I'm not even usually like, I'm not one of, excuse me, that's in the wrong section. Someone should get over there and change it. I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe a kid will learn this way. So here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
What not to do in a film.
But it's just funny how like they would do that for a long time. Like these movies would still pop up in like the kids section in a sense. And there's like, dude, they're PG-13 pushing R.
Some cases are.
Yeah.
This one, I'm going to say it on the scale of like these DC animated movies. This one probably is like very tame, but at the time it was like shocking.
Yeah.
To kind of see it, because you're just used to the Saturday morning version, which was itself kind of ballsy for being a cartoon. Because even those, they never went approached it as it's a kids show. It was always a show kids could watch, but really it's probably for people in their teens and early 20s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's that kind of thing, is because there's a lot of the actions that are performed in this thing that pretty much is like, hey, you can't do that on TV. Can't do that on a Saturday morning cartoon show. So it's like, yeah, once again, you know, if you watch this now, if you watched a bunch of the new ones and you kind of retroactively went backwards, you know, you wouldn't think much of it, but like it is, if you kind of think of it as in, hey, if you're in 2007 and everything else that's around here, there's a lot of stuff that you can't do. This is almost like the Jerry Springer uncensored like pay-per-view like version of like Superman.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of disagree with that a bit, because there wasn't really that much in it that pushed the boundaries. Like other than it made Superman bleed.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't anything like overly graphic.
Well, it's not overly graphic, but at least it's enough though that definitely on at least American TV, you would never be able to do this. And that's why this thing was actually heavily censored when it came out to Cartoon Network, is like just because of just the killing scenes, you know, and even just like some of the other, there's even a little girl that dies in it too, because Toyman, I mean, granted, it's off screen.
Oh yeah, wait there. Oh, I forgot all about that bit. That shit was dark. I watched that because I just watched it this afternoon and I was like, damn, I was going to do that in my comic, but I got told that was way too dark. God damn it.
Just dress him up as a gothic, like, you know, 2000s kid, and then you can get away with it.
I forgot about that bit, and they were like, oh yeah, and this girl's died, she was 4. What?
See, because
no wonder fake Superman dropped his ass from space.
Yeah, he's like, whoa. Killing 4-year-olds? Who is this pedophile?
I'm not going to lie. That Toyman would not have made... He wouldn't have just landed on that car. He would have been liquid.
He would have been all over the whole street.
Oh, Superman, we gotta clean this up now. Jesus, could be working overtime tonight. I told my kids I'd be home for the game. Not anymore.
No, not for a while.
Get the fire department over here. They got a big hose.
Yeah, just hose
spray
them
down the drain.
Yeah, just spray them down the drain. There's Ninja Turtles that live down there. They'll deal with it.
Fuck them. Not on our payroll.
But yeah,
I guess because the violence. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Spence.
Oh no, I was gonna say probably what you're gonna say. You go ahead.
Well, just like the violence in it, like it wasn't like the most intense violence, but it did more than what most the animated series did at the time. At least I can remember. I think Justice League Unlimited, as it went on, got darker and got a little bit more. They were able to get away with more, because here's some of the shit they weren't allowed to do in original animated Superman, and I believe that animated Batman, and that passed over to Superman. And I think Batman pretty hard to do just because it's darker subject matter majority of the time anyway. But
you weren't allowed to punch anything. That's why Batman always fucking judo throwed someone.
No, that's Spider-Man that they weren't allowed to punch in. Though that's kind of
Batman. Well, to start with, Batman wasn't allowed to like openly beat the shit out of anyone. He always threw them or like side kicked.
Yeah,
it wasn't for a while. They like opened up on it, and then Justice League they went, "Fuck it, do what you want."
Well, it's kind of funny how they always kind of say that, like, for some reason, like, punching is always one of those ones, like, hey, if you can you get the characters to do something else, like throw them, kick them, any of that stuff. Maybe because I just think it's like, well, because a kid on the playground can easily throw a punch. It doesn't matter what kid it is. He doesn't have to be trained. He might not be the greatest punch, but every kid can throw a punch. But you know what? If it's like a sidekick and the kid's a little bit overweight, he might think about not trying it. Or they're not going to, like, judo throw each other. Well, that maybe the big kid might judo throw the little one, but... I think that's what they always were thinking of, like, in the 90s. And the weird thing is because a lot of times those early 90s shows are actually a little bit more ballsier than sometimes some of those, like, early 2000s, late 90s era, because that's where they kind of had to be like, whoa. Power Rangers, kids are kicking each other in the face and so on like that. We got to tone this violence down a little bit here.
I got to say, I don't want to derail us too much, and I've said this one time before, like years back on the show, but I remember at my elementary school, kids weren't allowed to play Power Rangers because some kid would always get kicked in the face. There was like, and they would every morning, like in the first grade, over the like morning announcement things over the intercom, they'd be like, "Remember, kids, today is Jimmy and Sally's birthday, so happy birthday to them. This and that. Oh, and by the way, no playing Power Rangers at recess. No Power Rangers at recess." Rangers. You're like, well, we're not playing Power Rangers. We're playing ninjas. Oh, these little fuckers.
or what the hell's that show called in Japan?
Super Sentai.
Yeah, Super Sentai. No, we're playing Super Sentai. Oh, okay, that's okay, kids. Play Super Sentai. That sounds like
yeah. I was banned from Power Rangers, like, because every time I got into a fight, I was just like, hiya, and punch them straight in the face.
No, we're playing Power Rangers. We're playing Beetleborgs.
Yeah, exactly. It's the funny thing too is that, like, I always think of. Do you remember there was the kids back in the day too who couldn't watch Power Rangers? Like, it was.
Yeah, those poor bastards.
So you know what we were saying before about the what you call it over there, NC-13.
Oh yeah, because you got the not the PEGI ratings.
We just have PG and then it's 12 and 15.
That's right.
So. You know what we were saying about how this, like, pushed it pretty far?
Mm-hmm.
I think we all forgot about a particular DC animated film that went real far. That came out 7 years before this. Return of the Joker.
Yeah, that did go far.
That went real far. That was some psychological damaging shit. And then Tim straight up murdering the Joker with a fake gun to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that shit was dark.
No, that
was awesome.
Yeah, no. That one is one of those ones where it does have a very ballsy moment for the fact that this is a tie-in video to go along with a Saturday morning cartoon show. We're gonna have a straight some video games on N64 and PlayStation too.
When Paul Dini did he was doing a signing for his Vertigo book, A Dark Knight. And we gotta ask a couple of questions while he was there, and he was saying, like, yeah, that movie was originally going to be theatrical, and they said go PG-13 if you want. I'm like, okay, so we were doing that, and as time went on, management changed, let's change. It got trimmed and trimmed and trimmed. It became more of a became a straight TV movie, and then once we were going to actually advertise it on Kids WB. People at Kids WB were refusing to play ads for it because a child killed a man. We can't have that. A child killed a man. So then they're like, all right, well, we got to change it to where he pushes him and he accidentally kills him and he gets electrocuted. Like, oh, okay, that's better. Just like, how do some people get a fucking job? I have no idea.
No,
I love that film.
It's such a good one.
It was amazing.
But yeah, that's always such a weird one. Is that like there's people make up that kind of stuff, and it's just like this person got this far up the ladder, and they seem like they're a moron. But I mean, that goes to show that you don't have to get one of those top tier jobs. You don't got to be bright, you don't got to be smart, you don't have to even have skill. You just gotta know those people, and somehow, some way, you worked your way in there. But yeah, it's one of those ones. I'm kind of glad that we're somewhat past all that kind of stuff. That generally, nowadays we have other issues of that stuff that they'll block, which is always kind of like they'll block some stuff that's like really stupid. You're like, really? That's like so non-offensive. But then you'll have like a brutal torture scene. You're like, that's okay. Kids can handle that, because it's just violence. But at least for the most part, though, it's like. it's kind of to that point that I just noticed nowadays that, well, one, mostly the adults and the parents are actually, it's kind of a turn of events where the parents, I notice, seem to be, and like teachers seem to be actually more hardcore than like the kids do. The kids are actually, ironically, the soft ones, where for the longest time, the kids used to be always like, oh, that's that wild youth. You know what I mean? They're always after doing that stuff. And nowadays it's like, no, the parents are all like, no, little Jimmy, hey, you know what you need? Play some Grand Theft Auto. That'll get you some good, like, you know, growing up there and so on like that. I'll teach you all the ropes, you know what I mean? And so on like that, you know, and even just when it comes down to like music and so on like that, because, you know, you'll get like, you know, a parent and they'll be like, you know, their music will be like, hey, Billy, I want you to listen to some like Pantera or, you know, some like NWA or something like that. You know what I mean? This is some real hard stuff to get, you know, turn you into a man or a woman and so on like that as the years go on. And then they just like, oh, no, that sounds offensive. And, you know, I don't really like it. And it's just too angry for me. I'm just going to put my mask on and hide in the corner.
Well, to speak on, I guess, the generational thing, not this movie, which I wish, Spencer, I think you know what I'm about to mention. Mm-hmm. I wish was in this movie. It's not, but it's in the book. I wish they had Mitchell, the shitty 90s kid.
That's my favorite part. My favorite character of that story is that's what I think of more than anything else is Mitchell and just him, you know, life is just, you know what I mean? It's just nothing is cool. He lives in the 90s, but he just doesn't understand, like, you know, how good he really has it. Just he's at like the assembly and be like, oh, Superman came in the day. Like, why can't they have Guy Gardner? That guy's actually cool.
Well, it was an interesting thing because when you think back on because majority of the Superman Doomsday comic is just Superman and Doomsday smacking the shit out of each other for like 6 issues or whatever.
Yeah.
But the first like issue or two, there's that part where he goes to school assembly, and it is this whole thing of like, here's it was Dan Jurgens, like, here's what's wrong with this fucking generation. Here's every one of these little fuckers. And then like it's basically like what one girl raises her hand, like, excuse me, but like maybe you guys can like fight crime without, you know, like punching or hurting people. Have you thought of that, Superman? Like, well, I mean, I want to try, but I mean, sometimes you try fucking talking to like Lobo, you know, and then like, hey, how big are Wonder Woman's tits? Nice, you know, and then like, all right, guys, I gotta go save the fucking world. Bye. And then it's like this whole thing, like, you little fucks don't appreciate what you got, is what the first like issue of that thing is saying. And then like I love how dramatic it is, just because he comes home, the kid Mitchell comes home, like, can't believe I'm fucking home, so fucking lame, so fucking stupid, this house, and like,
hi, honey, how was your day at school? I heard Superman showed up, Mom says.
Fucking lame, you know. And then like, where's the soda? I want to get me soda, Mom. Well, Mitchell, I'm sorry, I'm taking care of a baby. I'm a single mom now. You're like, your dad left me. Like, yeah, well, Dad's house always has soda. No wonder Dad left. You know? And then fucking Superman and Doomsday land right in their fucking house having a fight. Mom's like, oh my God, it's Superman, and he's trying to defend us. Oh, well, he's wrecking the fucking living room. He knocked over my Sega 32X.
Well, there's a part too when Doomsday throws this punch so hard and it hits Superman in the chest, and he just like literally just blocks and takes it. And the mom's like, oh my gosh, did you see that? Like, Superman just took that punch and he didn't even flinch. And then the kid's just all like, yeah, well, the spud's just too slow to duck. It's just like literally, like, what's more exciting than having Superman and Doomsday fight in your own house? I mean, that literally sounds like WWE when they had like the WWF in your house, just kind of like that kind of notion. They're like, what if the WWF was right there in your house and Hulkamania was coming in and all that kind of stuff? And you'd be like, dude, it's the coolest thing ever. It's like, that's what this kid has. And he's like, lame. You know,
it wasn't the strongest part of the 90s.
I still enjoy that book, but I'm fully aware of all its problems. But at the same time, like, it's like I have that book on my shelf still because I love the artwork.
Well, yeah. Well, I love that part. That's my favorite part, though, is that kid, though. It sounds weird, like that's like ingrained in my mind. I get a chuckle out of it every single time because I do understand Dan Jurgens. It's like sometimes, like, when you sometimes think about the youth and all the great things they have, and then you just see them like pissing on it, you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have so much great things now. You live in a golden age, and you could care less.
9/11 hasn't happened yet. Embrace it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's it with older books, though. Like, you can always find something that hasn't aged too well. Like,
Yeah,
look at the Dark Knight Returns. Like, phenomenal book, but my God, there's a lot of stuff that just has not aged well in that.
Sometimes I feel like it's interesting because it's like a time capsule, so it kind of tells you like there are those things like these ideals don't hold up, but then there are other things that are like, okay, well that was the time, and it's kind of just interesting to look back and like, well, this is what people were thinking. It's kind of a case by case. Like, I still like Dark Knight Returns a lot, and I know what you mean because there are the things about like because I don't think people realize it. That book is supposed to take place in the future, and the future is more 80s than the 80s were. So there's some of those kind of things, but it's still. I know what you mean though. But yeah,
But see,
I think that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say I like when those books kind of have that sort of time capsule feel, though, even if the things might seem weird and out of place, because it is more like a reflection, almost even on the times there, and even just the moments in there, because it goes to show, hey, here's some ballsy stuff that you can't do now, which is always it's like when you get 70s stuff, not necessarily 70s comics, but like 70s movies. There's so many things that are done in 70s movies that are so extreme and pushing the envelope as hardcore as you can that nobody else can ever really do that, since then, because that was almost one of the most freest decades as far as creating something on screen was.
And you also have things like I'm not trying to lead this into a conversation of here's what's wrong with kids or here's what's wrong with comics this day and age, but
it's the kids, they don't read them, damn it.
Well, you get the reverse effect of like, and I know it's been beaten to death for 2 years now, but like, and it got canceled before it even had a chance to actually get a chance, really. But like, New Warriors by Marvel, like that thing. Sometimes you get those things that are trying to be so of the moment and so in your face, like Poochie from The Simpsons or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it just like, yeah, dude, you're trying too fucking hard. This ain't happening right. This ain't happening because it's not really speaking to anybody because it seems so group focused. But then you get those things like I've recently been reading some 90s X-Men and Chris Claremont, Jim Lee stuff. And it's one of those things like this is very of the moment, but it's kind of a time capsule. It kind of takes me back to, it was before I read comics, but it's still kind of this little kind of like dose of nostalgia, Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a giver. It's kind of a case-by-case scenario for me if something ages right or wrong. This one does, I'll say that going strictly off the Superman Doomsday movie, it does seem like something that very much came out like in the mid-2000s, kind of. But not in the worst kind of way. This is all like it does feel like a stepping stone to better movies, though. Because Justice League New Frontier is the next one after this, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one that follows up after.
So.
And that's like that one feels kind of weird because that one almost feels like that one goes deep right into like, hey, you know what? We're going to give it its own style. We're going to give it that Darwin Cook look and all this stuff. And we're going to kind of go very like hardcore and just do that graphic novel pretty much like, a little bit shorter version, but still just do it right as it is.
That one was also kind of ballsy because, I know we're talking about Superman Doomsday, but that was ballsy because the three main characters of that book particularly were Green Lantern, The Flash, and Martian Manhunter, three of which are not characters that had their own show at the time and were not really main knowledge unless you read the comics or watched any of the animated series. And it wasn't even Jon Stewart, Al Jordan. It was Al Jordan, Green Lantern. So that was kind of a ballsy choice for that one. We can do that one down the line. But yeah, as far as Doomsday goes, it is kind of interesting to see how do we simplify 2 years worth of stories into one movie.
Yeah, 3 big books put into one, 70-minute film.
They did well though for the first attempt.
Yeah,
they did
because it was supposed to be like new ground, having the animated like thing they were trying to pull off because they were like, right, we want to start pushing these out every year. So where should we start? And they somehow decided, let's go with Superman Doomsday.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting. Granted, I think it is kind of tied in because we just had a Superman movie and so on like that, live-action movie that is. That's why they kind of went Superman, because it almost seems like, you think nowadays, in the last like 10 years, generally, unless they would have always started with like Batman first, sort of in a sense, because Batman always sells, so you slap Batman on all the covers, and to kind of be like, okay, we're doing a new run, let's go with Superman first. Actually, it's kind of a cool one. And actually, the interesting thing is that other than Batman appearing in the background of other stuff, it's like I don't think Batman gets his first movie till and maybe they were probably pre-planned this because Dark Knight was coming out, but it's till Gotham Knights comes out, which I think is the third or fourth movie of this kind of run.
Was it not the second?
No, because New Frontier is the second.
Then Wonder Woman after. No. It was. I think Batman Gotham Knight was the third, because I think it goes Superman Doomsday,
Gotham
New
Knight
Frontier,
came out
Gotham
for
Knight.
Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wonder Woman after that, and then I think it's Batman and Superman Public Enemies, but after that I kind of forget what's the order they all come out in.
But the interesting thing about those early ones is they kind of like, because they didn't know, we weren't in that hardcore like, hey, if Batman's not on the cover, it's not going to sell yet. I mean, everybody kind of knows that, but they were really going like, hey, with these movies, we can try some alternative stuff. So let's throw a Wonder Woman movie out there. Let's throw some Green Lantern solo pieces and so on like that. And it was kind of neat how they were really kind of being experimental, because after a while, it seemed like about 5 years past that point or so, they got to that point where it's like, okay, if it's not Justice League, Batman, or Superman, it's not going to sell. And even Superman we're a little bit, questionable on anymore.
Yeah, so it was New Frontier second, and then Gotham Knight came out a couple of months after to hit The Dark Knight. Then Wonder Woman, which was actually really good, and then Green
That's
Lantern
very
First
underrated.
Flight.
Well, it's funny because when that Wonder Woman one came out, it just that one really went under the radar really fast and so on like that. And it's that weird thing that I guess not enough people cared about Wonder Woman at that point. Like, it probably only hit the hardcore fans, and that was it. And it's like, I think when Wonder Woman, the live action movie came out, I think they did do a re-release of that film, if I'm not mistaken. They did like a 2-disc, like another like a modern special edition, because I know there's also a regular 2-disc special edition of that first one. But I think they did. But that's one of those ones where they almost needed to like double down and really push that movie a second time with the live action movie and just get as much cash out of that as possible, because it is kind of a bummer, because that's like the best Wonder Woman movie, and it's totally just kind of like it was just kind of.
Bloodlines was good as well, though.
Oh yeah. That's also another good one too.
Which one?
The second Wonder Woman movie they did.
Oh, the one where she goes against Silver Swan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. That was one of the ones where they're in their own continuity, I think, right? I
think so. I can't remember if that one was tied into. No, I think that was still tied into like the Justice League run or something like that, because I think she still has that outfit on at first. And the interesting thing about that movie is she finally got like a regular Wonder Woman suit finally at the end of that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. That's where it's all part of the bigger continuity. That's
just
right.
Looking through like the entire run of the animated films, like I didn't realize how many there'd been.
Well, I have the nice collection. I'm not missing a single one of those on either Blu-ray or DVD, and I think I got the majority of them on Blu-ray by this point. But I've got that whole fat set of like every DCU animated movie. The only one I need a physical copy of that I need to get from Australia is Gen 13. I just need that Australian VHS version of it, but it costs like $50 used, so I'm going to wait for the recession. I guess I got to wait for the Mad Max recession of Australia whenever that happens, and then I can get it cheap. Because, I could trade him a gallon of gas for it.
I didn't know we were getting another Green Lantern this year.
Oh, is that one coming out? Now, finally, I'm kind of glad that they're trying to try that again, because
they're doing Green Lantern Beware My Power.
I wonder if that's to help kind of get people excited for the Green Lantern HBO Max show.
Probably, if I had to guess, yeah.
But that's next, and then there's Battle of the Super Sons.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. one.
But
it's going to be CGI.
It's going to be CGI.
Really?
Supposedly.
See, that kind of scares me, because, and I'll say this, granted, the Beware the Batman and the Green Lantern show, which are both...
the Green Lantern show was phenomenal.
But yeah, those ones are so good. And they are those ones that, like, for me, because I like the CGI, I had to almost get by about 5 episodes before I kind of got used to it. But, like, once I kind of got into it, I mean, story-wise, that thing's just amazing. So I'm not saying that the CGI can't be good, but what scares me is that once they start going CGI, it could be sort of like a Disney thing, because that's like what Disney did. Is the second that they started selling, you know, the Disney princess stuff in CGI, they're like, kids are going to think that if you draw it by hand, you're going to look like you're doing like, you know, claymation or something like that. They're going to think it's like so old school. It's going to be the equivalent of like King Kong in black and white for them. So they just like totally stopped it. And I just kind of hope that DC doesn't do that, because DC's been kind of like the last, DC / Warner Brothers Animation has been like the last big pioneers of traditional, I mean, it's still computer made, but you know what I mean, traditional hand-drawn animation, you know, because I mean, other than animes and, you know, things from Japan. So it's like
DC's on the like what the Green Lantern will be the 48th
something
animated
like that.
release,
something like that.
Whereas like Marvel tried, they got like 3 or something out,
yeah,
and then went, yeah, fuck it, we just can't seem to get the animation right.
It's kind of a bummer because it's like, I mean, they definitely were like a mixed bag, but like, you know, Planet Hulk was the one that was like, that was a really good one. Same with I like the Doctor Strange one as well.
Doctor Strange one was really good. Yeah.
Because they had the
Young Avengers.
They did the Ultimates.
Yeah.
1 and 2, which were
those were very whatever.
Yeah.
And then they did what was it? They had the Hulk. They had the 2-part one. It was
the Hulk versus
Wolverine and Hulk versus Thor.
Oh yeah, that one's actually really good too.
But then they went a bit nuts and had that Punisher Black Widow one, which the animation on that just did my head in.
That one sounds like it should have been really good. And
it should have been, but it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that like I felt like Marvel just didn't put enough effort into like trying. If they would have kept going with them, I think they could have got the ball going as time went on, and they just kind of.
I think it was just a case of Marvel just went, yeah, screw it, DC can have that one little corner.
Yeah, I think what it was is I don't think they thought it was going to be that big of a thing. They're like, whatever, like DC's only making like $10 million off these movies, like big whoop, whatever. It's not that big. There's more cash to be had in like live action and other stuff. And I don't think they assumed that these were going to last as long as they did. And DC just kept doing them, and now it's like to that point where it's like, oh whoa.
I hope there's one project that I hope we get before they either fuck it up or get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, I feel
make it a 2-parter.
Definitely.
Make it a 2-parter and do the animation style, because it's hard. It'd be very hard to pull off an Alex Ross faithful animation. So I would revert back to the classic, like Bruce Timm look.
Mm-hmm.
Or even keep with like the DC animated universe they've done, where they had them all the same for a bunch of films.
Yeah,
and when they did Throne of Atlantis.
I like your idea, Craig, about going Bruce Timm style, just because you could even make it like it could be its own separate universe, or it could be like the final chapter of the.
It could be like Kingdom Come is a phenomenal story.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hope we see it, but I hope they don't tweak anything like they did with Killing Joke.
Yeah, well, Killing Joke, the only thing they technically tweak is just by having that intro of like the weird Batgirl story.
Unnecessarily Batgirl mounting Batman was just unnecessary.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like if you technically chop that like whatever it is, 15 minutes, 20 minutes off.
That was supposed to be the swan song for Mark Hamill, because he came out of Joker retirement to do the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Conroy's up for anything. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, give Kevin Conroy more Batman stuff. Like, that's all he wants.
Yeah.
Like, he's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, it's one of those ones, like, I feel like you might as well just, I mean, I know it's nice that everybody else gets to try playing Batman at some point. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that's always kind of a good thing. But you might as well just milk Kevin Conroy until he, like, you know, passes away and just get as much Batman content as he possibly wants to do, because why not?
His voice sounds the same over all these years, so I mean, as long as he feels like doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved it if Batman Hush was Kevin Conroy, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, it's like every once. I mean, like as I said, it's nice that somebody else gets to try it out. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, God, you realistically, everything could have Kevin Conroy, and I think I kind of hate to say it, but it would always just make it feel right.
I'm trying to think if there's any good stories that we need to get Kevin Conroy to do.
I mean, other than Kingdom Come, I think
technically he has done Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah,
because he did play Old Man Bruce from Kingdom Come, but the dark version of him in the CW crossover.
Yeah, in the Arrowverse.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, so he was Bruce in that.
He was actually Bruce Wayne in that, with the exosuit, with that exosuit that he has in the comic.
Oh, really? I need to look that up. I never really watched the Crisis on Infinite Earth thing for CW or Arrowverse, so I gotta check that out.
It was just, when they announced Kevin Conroy was actually going to be playing Bruce Wayne, it was like, holy shit!
Yeah, because that's always the thing. Is I always thought it's like, especially back in the day, it's like, dude, Kevin Conroy literally could be. You could literally have him play Batman and like Batman Forever, like when he's like that kind of similar age at that point of everybody else.
I guess they could.
They need to get some more out of him before, unfortunately, we lose him.
Yeah,
I guess as far as like Batman stories go, for I guess Kevin Conroy, you could do a more comic accurate version of like Court of Owls, or maybe hit up some other like Zack Snyder.
I was thinking Court of Owls, but I think they've done it too soon ago.
Well, they did like a weird mashup where it was kind of like it was a mixture of Peter J. Tomasi's story about where Robin meets up with Henry Ducard's son and turns him against them, but instead of making it Henry Ducard's son, they made it the Court of Owls, which it was still Batman versus Robin was still a fun book. But I guess if you want to do a more comics accurate version of that, or a comics accurate version of any other number of Zack Snyder, Greg Capullo stories, which they only seem interested in Court of Owls. What? Oh, did I say Zack Snyder? Scott Snyder. Yeah. I guess they did all the classic ones that we always think of. I mean, they could dig into more whatchamacallit. Neil Adams.
Do a war on jokes and riddles.
Yeah, you could do that. Get that'd be pretty good.
Mark out of retirement for Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And get war on riddles and jokes.
Yeah, well,
or go ham and just do the I Am Bane saga.
Yeah,
that could be cool. I actually, even though I like Tom King, I feel like his best stuff on his run got out of the way kind of early. I feel like the first chunk of his run is all his best Batman stuff. I mean, there's still some good stuff throughout his run, but War of Riddles, I Am Bane, a lot of that was pretty good.
But
I like the I Am Bane, and then City of Bane.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. I guess my only thing with that, for me personally, is everything, because it got to that point where like everything from every issue was all completely connected, leading to this moment. Like, that seemed a little convoluted, even for a Batman supervillain plan. But I still liked majority of his run. I still thought it was all pretty good for the most part. But there's just some stuff like, hey, remember that thing that happened like 2 years ago in like one issue? Like, no, I don't. I got other comics I'm reading.
But anything by Capullo and Snyder, like particularly Death of the Family.
Oh, Death of the Family, yeah.
Like
or even
Joker
Endgame.
has half his face peeled off.
Yeah, or Endgame when when they would presume that both Batman and Joker are dead.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
And I wouldn't mind still seeing some more kind of like older Batman type stuff too, just like pulling from like the vault of things. And I know that like it seems like once they kind of knocked off some of like the big books, it's almost like we've kind of like bypassed that a lot. And a lot of times they're kind of making things that are more.
We've never had a Nightfall animated film though, have we?
No, never have.
Haven't.
And I mean, I'm thinking even older than that, but that would be a cool one.
But like, imagine Nightfall with Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
Would be amazing.
Yeah. No, that would be a pretty sweet one to kind of have there and so on. But
I mean, it would probably have to be a 3-parter, but you could 2-parter it.
Yeah, you could probably get it with 2.
Have the breaking of Batman at the end of 1, and then 2 with having John Paul Valley take over and turn absolutely psycho, but have the greatest Batsuit of all time, and then have Bruce Wayne come back and reclaim it, basically like what they did with Superman Doomsday 2.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. They could definitely do that.
I would enjoy that.
Yeah, no, I kind of hope that they do kind of reach back in time and start pulling some more things out, because I kind of like when they do the thing too, especially when like not everything's getting connected. Because when not saying that the connected things, like there's great movies in there, but I kind of like when they're doing the thing where it's like, okay, this is a standalone story. These 1 or 2 movies is just like, this is supposed to be like 1992, and that's what it is. Like, it doesn't have to connect to anything. It's just, here's a Batman story. Okay, then the next one can be something else.
Well, it was they eventually turned around and said they were going to do two of the connected universe a year, and then 1 standalone. But then after Apocalypse, they've rebooted it, so now there isn't any connected. So all the ones we get now should just be standalones.
I think there is connection. They're the ones that I think Superman, Man of Tomorrow, Justice Society, World War II, and Long Halloween. I think those are all in the same.
That was just World War II was after. Then we had Long Halloween after Apocalypse War.
I think those are connected.
Man of Tomorrow was good though. I quite enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also they finally used Parasite, which is a character that was always just kind of like a B villain for the longest time.
And the animation was good.
Well, yeah. That new animation style that they have, like I was gonna say when we came back to like the Kingdom Come thing, even if they use that animation style, I'd be like, I'd be down for that.
I'd be down for that. I just really hope they do a Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
What's really cool about that animation style is majority of the other animated stuff they've done looks great, but if you pause it, it looks like you're watching a cartoon. Where if you pause like the new animation style they do on a lot of them, it actually looks like a panel of a comic if you pause it for a minute, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. Where it's like, Superman Doomsday, it looks like it's an animated film. Like, even if you pause it, and that's not saying a bad thing, but you could tell, like, right off the bat that hey, this is the animated movie where, the new ones almost have kind of like a very, very comic book look. Craig, have you ever filled out when Warner Brothers asks you of, like, a little survey on, like, the upcoming DCU stuff?
Oh, I think years ago. I don't think they've asked us since, because I think my reply was, Kingdom Come, Kingdom Come, Kingdom Come.
Well, I was going to say is because when you go on there, because, my reply always when they say fill in the blank is Green Arrow, Green Lantern Traveling Heroes. I always write, that's my write-in one. But
I got that back there on the wall, the junkie.
Oh,
cover.
there it is. Yeah. Got that. Because I'm like, oh, that's the one I always want to see. And so on like that. And even though that's a thick book, some of those issues just kind of are there to be there. But you could sum that up into like one kind of adventure. But what I was getting at, though, is on the checkoff list, because they do have one where it's like, hey, here's 15 things that we've chosen. Which one of these 15 things would you like to see? Kingdom Come has been on there, I noticed, the last handful of years. So that kind of tells me that it's definitely in the works.
I'm sure there was a thing about them saying, like, we know people want Kingdom Come. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, where do you time it at, too? Because you sort of want to, when you drop a big story, like kind of in a sense, they did Long Halloween. So that kind of tells me that you probably can wait a year before you do another really big book.
Bro.
It might also be kind of lining up, like, when's the next time we have a big Justice League project coming out of some sort, whether it be a video game or a movie? Because I'm thinking about, like, Long Halloween wasn't, like, right around the corner, but I guess it was somewhat close to the Batman coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat. And then, usually it's kind of lined like this movie. It was lined up with Superman Returns. So there's usually, not always, but there's usually something kind of close to a big, like, movie or a big video game or something like that. So maybe they're just kind of waiting on Kingdom Come for that. Or maybe they're even waiting on, like, already said Green Lantern is probably the HBO Max show around, like, a year away or give or take.
Yeah, they might savor it for whatever the next Justice League ends up being, however farther down the line that comes out. But, that might be where they would savor a Kingdom Come as the sort of boost, months beforehand to get people all pumped up for it.
Do you want to know a little bit of tidbit that's been discussed literally a couple of weeks ago?
Sure.
So the producers of Black Adam have apparently, like, it's been discussed about doing Kingdom Come, but in live action.
Like a standalone picture?
It's a multi-film saga.
But I mean, like, would it be a standalone Kingdom Come story, or would it involve, in a sense, like, by that standard, the Black Adam kind of universe mixed in with the post Justice League?
Fuck it. Just bring everyone back. I don't give a fuck. Just give me Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Get Henry Cavill back as Superman.
Yeah.
Throw Ben Affleck in the corner as an old man Batman. Let's go. Or even Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton, I feel like he's like the right age for old man Batman. Hell, get Val Kilmer. I don't care. Like, pull him out of whatever he's doing.
I'm game. Like, apparently it's come up in discussion, so let's go.
Or, mine that I've always wanted, and I know most people look at me like it's blasphemy, but I feel like this guy is the super right age. Plus, if he had a second chance and he had the right thing, George Clooney Batman coming back.
Shut up.
It'd be amazing. I kid you not. I bet you he would knock it out of the park. So hardcore.
He's had plenty of years to hone down his craft, and everyone just likes a redemption arc.
Exactly.
I honestly, I wonder what they'll do, because they are at that point where they've just embraced, we're going to do standalone live action movies with the Joker. And even though it's a new series, the Batman is separate from their connected universe stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could do a standalone Kingdom Come series. Time will tell, I guess. I mean, plus the Flash. I mean, who knows what the fuck's going on? Because Ezra Miller just got fired from being the Flash.
I take everything back that I just said about Kingdom Come and bringing Henry Cavill back. I'll tell you who should be Kingdom Come Superman. Brandon goddamn Routh.
I mean, I would take that.
Because he came back as Superman in The Crisis on CW as Kingdom Come Superman, and he fucking nailed it.
Huh.
Did they make any joke about, you look a lot like the Atom?
Yeah.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, but he also gave one hell of a fucking goodbye to Superman. But his Superman was the same Superman as Superman Returns, but had the story from Kingdom Come where Joker comes to Metropolis and gasses fuck out of the planet and kills Perry, Lois, Jimmy. So there's only him left, and he's got the black emblem on the suit, and it just looked amazing. Bring Brandon Routh back as Superman for Kingdom Come. Facts. I dare anyone to tell me different.
I'm up kind of for whatever, so that sounds good to me. I think Brandon Routh, I think he was a good Superman. I just think that he said, like, in a podcast, actually it was the guy, I don't remember his name, but it's the guy who used to play Lex Luthor in Smallville. He has a podcast,
I know, Michael Rosenbaum. He also was the Flash.
Yeah, he voiced Barry Allen. That's right. Or no, Wally West.
Wally West.
Yeah, and he was saying, like, truth is, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, truth is, we were trying to get another Superman movie where I was Superman in the line for a long time, but to be honest, I just got off Superman, and I was a little kind of being difficult, so part of it's kind of me. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something to that effect. Like, yeah, if I compromised more, that probably would have got made. So I'm saying give him so it's cool that he got another chance at being that in the crossover, the Infinite Crisis event. So why not let him give another chance at the movies? Because I think we're at that point now where this went from being only nerds like this shit. Let me just throw it out there. They'll be grateful they fucking have it. Now to the point of, like, we don't like the fucking design. Change the way the hedgehog looks. Like, all right, shit, fuck. And now I think we're at the point.
To be fair, that Sonic needed to be changed.
It needed.
Well, it worked out in its favor, because now Sonic's like, it's like, oh shit, we did something right, and then Sonic 2 just knocks it out of the park like more than anything else ever has.
And then, but even that one aside, now they're realizing, oh shit, look what happens when you listen to fans. You get the MCU, and that's dominating cinema. So here we go. All right, Kingdom Come. Let's give Brandon Routh a chance. Sure.
Yeah, well, I think finally we're kind of getting to that point where they realize that, like, oh, we didn't really realize, but the stuff that's on paper is actually gold. Like, it took them like 20 plus years to kind of really think that, like, because I kind of hate that, but it always sort of happens when it's different mediums. Like, there's like a hierarchy of like how they view other things. Though technically, at the end of the day, everybody's doing the exact same thing. They're doing storytelling, but they just look down upon everybody else. I mean, it even happens to authors of like novels too. They look down, like the movies look down upon those ones and so on too. Yeah. But it's like when they do them, just like, hey, do it literally by the book. you're gonna get something really good, and you're gonna get it done right. I mean, I know we just talked about Sonic in like length before, but like Sonic 2 describes that. It's like, hey, just do what's already there, pretty much. You know what I mean? And you're gonna get like a super hit film. And that's kind of the thing too when it comes to like the DC stuff and even like the Marvel things. It's like, don't try to add your own stuff in there. Just do what there is there, and you already have a gold ticket.
Yeah. To bring it back to Superman as well as Superman Doomsday to some extent, I saw that documentary about the making of the death. I think it's called The Death and Rebirth of Superman Lives, where it kind of goes into in-depth documentary about how this movie was in production hell for so long.
I love that documentary.
Yeah, and it points out exactly what Spencer was just saying, which is you had Kevin Smith come in and he says, look, I know this is going to get changed, so let me make the ultimate fan Superman movie. And from what he went off of, it sounded really good. And then Tim Burton came on and says, like, I don't want this script. It's just too comic booky. And then he brought in some other guy who's just like, yeah, I think Tim likes me because I don't like comics and I'm able to have another view of things. And I've read the Tim Burton one and I read the Kevin Smith script and it didn't do it for me. So I'm here to change that. And then like you see that fucking pompous assholes, like what he's done. You're like, all right, what did the guy do? Okay, you'll rewrite on Batman Returns, whatever. He's probably the one who created Max Schreck and got rid of Harvey Dent, probably.
Yeah, probably.
And then you look at, you made Glass House. What the fuck have you done, asshole? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things like, you're better than Superman Returns. You're better than all this. You're better than the comic Superman Returns. You're better than Superman All Seasons. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, that's what just bothers me is that like I hate that hierarchy of like at the end of the day, a writer's a writer, a writer's a writer. You know what I mean? No matter what, doesn't matter what you're writing, you're all writing something, and you should be doing it for the material. You know what I mean? It almost feels like it's some kind of weird like communist belief, but like at the end of the day, like you shouldn't be doing it because you want to make yourself look cool or make yourself look artful. You need to be doing it so that it's all for the main product. It's like what makes Superman the best. That's what you got to stick to, and no, don't try to add your own stuff in there because that's the problem. I think some people they think that they know better than the actual source material, and it's like one of those ones where it's like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, no, like don't do that. You know what I mean? Like. Take what there is. There's already magic made. Take that magic and just put it on screen. That's all you got to do. I mean, and that goes for all kinds of media. That's the same thing with like video games and stuff too. It's just like, if you guys would just take the magic that's already there in a video game and just transfer that story onto screen, you would have hit after hit after hit after hit instead of trying to, make it into this kind of morphed object.
Okay, to be fair, that guy did write Cape Fear. Beyond that,
okay, well, that's an okay movie, yeah.
All right, Martin Scorsese. Okay, beyond that, everything else, I'm like, nah. Look at everything else he's done, but he did Cape Fear. All right, we'll give him that.
Yeah. but yeah, Superman Doomsday, fun movie, definitely worth checking out. If you've never seen this one before and you're a big DC fan, you got to at least watch it. It's a historical piece, if anything like that. You know what I mean? You might not know that right off the bat from watching it, but if you kind of have like the history and the context and when it came out and how it started this DCU modern day era of, animated films, like there's a lot of stuff here that's kind of like game changing in its product and so on. But at the end of the day, I mean, as I said, it's still a fun one all the way through. Like, I would at least say it's a good, like, if I kind of take it for its time period and everything like that, like, yeah, there's definitely a lot more DCU ones, past this that I like more, of course. But this one's still, like, really solid. Like, it's still enjoyable. There's nothing I can really complain about it in other than the fact that maybe at first you kind of wish there was more of the Superman Returns kind of stuff in there. But just knowing what it is, I like it just the way it is.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely it's their first attempt, and I don't think it's a miss. I think they did a really good job. I think they got better as they went on, but for your first time trying this, they did a good job, and it was an enjoyable movie, and I think it was good enough to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Craig, you got the new Project Saviour out right now. Where do you need to lead people to go get that bad boy?
Just projectsavior.co.uk.
There we go. Yeah.
Or Amazon.
Oh, yeah, on Amazon. You can get digital copies. You can get physical copies. You can get all that good stuff there. You also got all kinds of neat...
copies.
You got all kinds of neat kind of like tie-in merchandise products that you've been making throughout time too.
Yeah. I haven't put the new bust on yet though.
Yeah, you got those. You got even figures. You got the one that I liked. You had a controller holder for Project Saviour. I'm like, that's kind of badass.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't have thought about that, but I was looking at that the other day. I'm like, dude, you got all these like really neat novelty items because that's almost like I get excited about the novelty items. That's why I like going to like a good concert because some bands like Wednesday 13 in particular is really smart about like the novelty items that they have. Like they have all kinds of stuff. Same with Cradle of Filth. Cradle of Filth was another band too that like they make sure you got like 100 different things you can look for at their booth, and it's like I like that kind of stuff when there's just all these weird things you never knew you needed until you saw it.
Yeah, I've got a phone holder and I've got a controller holder, which someone's actually ordered.
Yeah, there you go. Have you been printing those off with a 3D printer? Because I know you were getting into that.
Yeah.
Nice. Gosh, that's something I'd love to have and so on like that.
I've got 3 3D printers now.
Look at you. You're gonna have a machine shop in a second.
It pays for the comics.
That's true. Just 3D print all kinds of neat stuff. But yeah.
Could you find that stuff on Amazon as well, or is that linked into the store?
It's in the store.
In the store. Oh, okay. That's what I'm not finding it here. All right, cool. I'll have to check out the store later.
But yeah, I'll make sure I put some links in the description when this podcast goes up on the podcast kind of sites and so on like that. But
yeah, we've just hit 6, so that's the first arc done.
So yeah, now you're getting that point where you could start slapping it together in a big old graphic novel. Is that the next plan of action?
That's the plan. I'm letting 6 breathe for a bit.
Yeah, might as well.
And then what I'm gonna do is do a Kickstarter because I've had a look to see. I've had a couple of quotes for doing the graphic novel, and I want to do it. I have a specific way I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't just want a paperback. I want a hardback with a dust cover.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be awesome.
And then red foil for the title.
Oh, there you go. Might as well get
That's what I want. But it's a pricey. It's pricey, but it doesn't put the cost of the book up.
No, that's not too bad. I mean, because sometimes I notice, like with the hardcover, I mean, if when you go to buy a book in store, the hardcover is guaranteed to be about $10 more. That's always kind of how it kind of goes.
Yeah.
I notice even when it gets down to printing, that lots of times it can always be about $5+ more just between a hardcover to a softcover.
So I think it works out. It would be $22.99 ish.
Mm-hmm. In pounds.
Which, yeah, but I know with translating it to dollars, the way I'm doing is I'm trying to offset it so that whatever it is in pounds, you pay pretty much the same in dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't have that problem as I usually have is if someone went to go buy a comic on the website from the States, instead of it costing $3.50, it's like $8.
Oh, I see what you mean. So, well, then the upside is that then it matches in a sense close to your price on the book too.
Yeah, like
Do you usually get like a direct message like, "Hey, in America it says $3. What's this crazy pound nonsense?" Do you ever get like those kind of like stupid messages or anything like that?
No, because my website actually adjusts to like if you're signing in from America, it'll show you dollars, but it does the conversion. So I think if it's $3.50 for a comic here, it'll show up as nearly $5.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then the postage, it was the postage that's the killer. So what I've done is I've just told the site specifically if someone's coming in from anywhere out the UK, it just shows $3.50.
Mm-hmm.
Which works out cheaper technically, but it's not about money. It's about sending a message.
True.
Well, I want to say on the new issue, I think it came out to US dollars. I think it was like $2.99 or something like that. Maybe $3 exactly.
Yeah,
so
because I can set the digital price as well.
Yeah, so it was just flat rate, easy transaction. I could use PayPal, so it made it perfectly.
Dude, PayPal eats money.
Yes, it does.
Like if you'd paid for that on say like a normal card, the transaction fee for that would have been probably about 15-20 pence tops. Paying by PayPal, they take 67
Do they, well, see, because I remember them PayPal when when I sold stuff on eBay, they would always take 10%. Or no, PayPal took less than that because eBay would between eBay and PayPal they'd take like 10% in total. So PayPal was like 5%.
PayPal just takes a lot. Like, it's better for me if someone pays by card because I lose less. So, like, I think yours is this it? So $299, they took 45 cents as fee.
Yeah, so it's like 7% then or something like that.
It's just crazy because if that had been on card, that would have been like
3.5%.
Like it would have been a lot less.
Well,
Like I had someone pay us by card for £100, and they took 150 or something. Like it was only like 1.75%.
I mean, it's better than Amazon, I guess, because Amazon, I would have paid $3 and they would have taken $2 of it.
Yeah, Amazon don't really make much sense. Like, I don't understand what their deal is, but it's strange. So I was looking at it the other day, and it tells you like if someone's been reading it on Kindle Unlimited or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So someone apparently has read issue 1 this week 26 times.
Oh, just one person?
Well, it doesn't say if it's more than one person, but
I would be afraid to step out your door if someone's been reading it that many times.
But it's just the fact that no other issue's been read.
Open it.
Just issue 1 26 times.
Yeah, see,
Which I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah,
We got an issue 1 mega fan. That's awesome.
Yeah, what's that one Stephen King movie where
Misery.
Misery? Yeah, you gotta be careful there when you get those super fans.
Avoid icy roads.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think that having it on your website and everything like that, that's almost like the total way to go, is to send people there. Really easy. No matter what version you use, even if you use a PayPal version, you have to pay double the percentage for that fee. But it's much better than everything else. I mean, even other big sites still take like a 50% chunk sometimes. So any of those things you can bypass and kind of.
It's definitely a good thing having its own website.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Is I just like how you just have it right there, because even like if you have it on Etsy, because I use Etsy for a lot of stuff, that's still like I think it's like 9% or something like that. It's like it's just under 10, so you still no matter what always have that storefront there. But
I mean that is the other good thing. I don't have to pay anyone else. Like there's no handling fee from a website or
pay anybody else except for the government.
Well, there is that. But I've just been through the website today and like spruced it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you go on the comics, there's a little bit more detail in there now.
Nice. Well, I still think that you got like the most slickest website for a comic book there is, and it's just like right to the point. Like it's one of those ones I was looking at. I'm like, I want a website like that at some point. Like I just love that storefront.
I just pulled it up. I see you got the Funko Pop, your customizable Funko Pop. You also have some awesome Marvel and DC prints here.
I did have the Funko Pop.
You sold it?
Well, I did a few people ordered them, but I can't get because it was like a blank Funko Pop you could buy, so you could like put your own paint job on. So I would like just paint the suit on.
Mm-hmm.
But the cost of the blank ones shot up from like a reasonable amount to just crazy.
No, that's always kind of the bummer there, because because when I saw it too, I started thinking I'm like I wonder which Funko Pop he bought to paint over, but I didn't even think about like, oh, they sell blank ones.
Yeah, it's just a blank one I found. Like I hate everything about it, because if you ever tried to paint your own Funko Pop,
I can't imagine that being good. Like it's
not fun.
All those old school like creative like paint your own stuff. It's sort of like when you get to like Warhammer and all that stuff. Like I'll admire somebody else's collection. I knew if I did that and I went to paint it, it would just look stupid and it would just not come out right. Now, granted, I know I didn't put the time and effort into it, but that's how I always feel about that kind of stuff. Like, can it come out of the box just already painted and ready to go? Like,
now, one in this picture looks great though.
Which one? The Pop Funko?
The Vigilante one you made, the vinyl bobblehead. Looking at it right here.
Yeah, I had to make the boxing and everything for it as well.
Oh yeah, that's right too. Because I was looking at that and I was like, what the? That thing's almost looking official.
Pretty much, it was almost there. It was getting like the boxing was all laminated and stuff, so it was all nice and clean.
Well, I've noticed that in recent years, there's been like, if you go like on Etsy, they have all kinds of people that's like their whole job is they just make custom Funko Pops for people, you know.
I'd love to get out an official one done. But the new, did I send you a picture of the bust?
Yes, well, I saw the bust that was not painted yet. It was just, I think, solid black still.
Was it?
Maybe, I don't know. I want to say it wasn't done. I just remember like I saw the bust part, and that was just, I think it wasn't complete yet.
Oh no! Oh yeah, it wasn't. Damn. I'll send you the done one because it came out really nice. I managed to get a couple of them done. One of them went to Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone down pretty well. Need to do some more.
Well,
all the covers for Project Saviour look really good, but the Origin 1 through 6 cover, that which I'm assuming is the graphic novel you're just talking about, that one looks awesome with the red lightning in the background and
that's on the it's the cover I put on the back of 6.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that's one of me newer like one-shot pieces I did, and I just love it. It's like on everything.
Yeah, I know that's the good promo piece right there.
Yeah, that's one it's on the roller banner.
Mm-hmm.
I use it for everything because I just love it. But I think I'm gonna go with that for the cover of the. What I was thinking of doing was having the front cover of the graphic novel is just that, no title, no text, just that wrapped around.
Uh-huh. What about on the back side? Are you gonna have no like description on the back or anything?
I don't know. I haven't got that far.
Is the
I need
book
to start
all
piecing it together because I'm also remastering 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started ages ago, but I'm going to remaster 1 so that the art caught up with 6.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to make a couple of tweaks.
Well, there is always that thing. It's like when you're making comic books and so on like that, and as time goes on, it's just like the artwork continuously improves. And then at some point you see like a drastic difference between like, I mean, yours not as much as like mine has a drastic difference between 1 and 12.
Oh, 100%. But like I feel like there's a huge difference between 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4's where it really started to get dialed in.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of it because you're figuring it out, you're getting your style down, you're getting it kind of balanced, what you like most, and so on like that, and getting the groove going.
Is the book all black, white, grays, and reds?
Yeah, there's no other
awesome.
colors, just red.
Nice.
So that was Ryan's first comic book, had that exact same color scheme.
His looks a lot better, though, I can tell you.
It fits the atmosphere. But the plan is let 6 breathe for a little bit, do the graphic novel, put it all together, put it on Kickstarter. Not go crazy with the rewards this time because that just got way too complicated and time consuming.
Yeah,
I just want to do it like a pre-order. Like, you want it? Here's a physical copy, here's a digital copy.
I kind of like that style more, where it's just like, because sometimes you get to some people's like Kickstarters, and I'm almost confused. I'm like, well, what is the main book that I'm supposed to be getting here? You have so much stuff going on that I don't really even know what I'm getting anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's nice when it's just be like, here's this, here's that, that's it, nothing else. Like, you came here to buy a comic book. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
I love the Harry Partridge comedy, like parody cartoon of like Kickstarter. Like, we're here to tell you, so here's what's gonna happen. You're all paying in to buy a big fucking pile of money. That is what the goal is, a fat fucking pile of money. And if you send us $10,000, we'll send you $1 as a reward. The end of the goal is to make a pile so high I can go up to heaven and spit in God's fucking face for telling him how fucking poor he is.
That's almost how some of those ones definitely feel, like 100% right there. I want to actually ask you real quick, Craig, before I forgot this idea, but what you should do when it comes down to the American ones, because I remember I told this to like Luke Brown and so on like this too, to kind of like beat out that international shipping, which is like that's almost like the hardest part about books.
Ball ache.
Is what I would do is I would get something like a company like even like Kablam. I've been using them recently for all my single issues and so on like that. But I mean, you could use anything else. You could use Comics Wellspring, which is the other one that I like a lot. But use one of those companies. Well, I feel Kablam would be better because you could do the drop shipping really easily with that one. That one's already set up for it. Is because you can just buy individual issues when somebody does it, but just literally when somebody in America or Canada or Mexico buys it, you can drop ship your issue to them straight from, let's say, Kablam, and it will just go to them, and the price will just be a normal American price of shipping, and not have to have that crossing, the pond, and having it be like 3 times more to print a single issue.
I think the printer I normally use, I think they've just opened up a place in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they would ship individual ones out to individual people.
See, and that's one of the few things that's why I've been really digging Kablam, is because you can actually do the individual issues. So if you only need to send, a couple out to a certain place, you don't have to have a minimum order or anything like that.
I think I looked at Kablam before. I'm sure it's the one where I got stuck when it was like, we need to be able to contact you, but we need American numbers.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, you can always just pass them along to me. I'll be your U.S. representative. Let me call my American ambassador.
It might be a case of I have to look into that so I can see what the prices will be, like, per order.
Yeah.
Because then I think, so what would it be a case of? So you set that up, and then I would have to log in as every individual person requesting one.
Well, the way that like drop shipping kind of generally would work is that you just do a custom order, and then you just pop, like, let's just say you on Kickstarter, you got their full list of all the addresses and so on and where you need to send stuff from. You make an order on, say, like Kablam or something like that. It could go with like any website technically. So whatever website you're using, you make an order, and then in that order, you pop their address into there. So you're like, this one's going to California, this one's going to New York, this one's going to Canada, and you pop just those addresses in, and then they just ship it off from the site, like if you were kind of ordering it for yourself, but instead you're not ordering it for yourself, you're just shipping to there, and then you just pay, the shipping of give or take, $5, who knows, and 5 months from now it could be twice as much, but at the moment, you're paying a more decent rate, and you're not paying the international shipping one, and that's how you can ship it out. Because I even used some of that drop shipping before on sending some of my comic books out. Just, it sounded weird. It was actually going to be cheaper for me just to drop ship it than to actually package a comic book up myself and send it from my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's a great way. I mean, I use the drop shipping for all kinds of things. Like, say like, I'm like, hey, Ryan needs this right now. Well, here, Ryan, I'll just pop you into my Amazon account. Boom, drop ship you an item. There you go.
All right, okay.
So it's something to think about, because I just feel that's going to be the big savior of, like, literally that international...
Project Saviour?
Yeah, the Project Saviour of that international shipping, because the international shipping is... I don't know what it is.
Killer.
For books, it's terrible, because books wait. And it's weird, because in America, we have something called media mail. Now, media mail will tell you that it's supposed to be for textbooks only, but let's be honest, anything that's educational is, in my opinion, can fit under that category. And I think everything that's readable is educational. So I believe it fits in there. But the nice thing about that one is it takes like an item. So if you had like a bunch of like thick books, and let's just say you're sending a stack of comics, you could get that price down to like $3, because it's like, that's just how they look at it. They're like, hey, it's books. The UPS or the U.S. Postal Service guy can just chuck it in the back of the van and not worry about it.
That's true.
So there's options there, and that's just what I'm throwing out there, because I feel those, for anybody who's shipping anything, it's good to know, like, how can I, convert this and ship it easily, like in other countries, without having to cross those borders.
Well, because this was supposed to be a bigger book, like issue 6, but finding that I wasn't getting any other cons this year, I decided to split it, because I wanted to hit a con with a new book.
Yeah.
But I'm actually glad I did, because I realized that it needed a little bit more exposition.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the exposition was coming in the later half.
Well, that's what I feel. Is this one kind of explains just some stuff in there. You get some good action and beating up scenes, and then it ends on a nice, like, hey, cliffhanger.
So I've already got pages for 7 done.
See, that's probably the nice thing, is now you're like, hey, I'm almost halfway done through 7 now.
Well, it's not halfway, but I know what I'm doing. I've already got plans for 8. 9's been locked in since I started.
Yeah, so.
There's a specific plan for 9 that's been raring to go.
So
and then I think it worked out. There's at least another 30 comics to go before the story's told.
Yeah, well, you got the plan of action going.
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's always how it is.
Pushing a big marketing thing at the minute, like through advertising and whatnot.
Yeah, that's kind of been my sort of goal. Is like I'm like I need to kind of hit those, because the downfall is for me when it comes down to Pizza Boys is I'll do the thing where if I'm working on a book, I stop doing everything else. I just start working on that book, and you almost go radio silent for like way too long. And I'm like, well, I got 12 issues that equates to 3 graphic novels. Like, you see some of those guys who like push one book for like 4 years. You know what I mean? And they just milk the living daylights out of it. I'm like, maybe I gotta start doing a little bit of that, just like really pushing the book and making sure that the advertising part, because at the end of the day, it's got to be something where you always kind of hate to say it, but like 50% of your time almost needs to be advertising, while 50% of the time is creating. I know you don't get nearly as much done that way, it feels like on paper, but that's almost the game in a sense, unless you just got a book that instantly just takes off, like setting fire to like dry grass. Don't need to advertise that.
Yeah. That's also true. But, I mean, so far, so good. Like, the website's getting a lot of attention. Not many conversions into sales just yet, but I'm hoping that the more people see it, the more they're going to check it out.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's what I kind of feel. It's like, I know of myself, it's like, the more I can show it off, the more it trickles in of people that get interested, people that buy the book, people that become fans, and want to read more and so on like that. And it's like the Comic-Cons. Like, I don't know how many times like you run into somebody at Comic-Con, they buy your book, and the next thing you know, they're like, man, I've got your book last time, give me another one. You know what I mean? So that's always kind of a cool one just right there. So you just keep stacking that up and stacking that up.
I didn't realize how long it had been since 5 and 6.
Yeah, I guess it has been kind of a while.
It was way too long. But like COVID was not my friend.
Yeah.
Like the whole lockdown thing over here with like my thing is my comics sell at cons. Like outside of a con, it's a hard sell.
Yeah, because the internet, nobody knows who you are in a weird way, and it's not like they see you in person. They go, hey, whatever. This guy looks like,
because there was such a drought between the cons coming back, I just didn't do it. Like, I just thought there was but I didn't realize how much time had passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, by the time it was done, I was like, oh, crap. I mean, it's still not as bad as the first issue taking 10 years. So anything under 10 years is a bonus. But this year I want to get a few done.
Yeah.
Like, the goal is 7 is out before the end of June. 8 out before September, and then 9 out for Christmas, New Year.
Well, and then I feel also, too, once you have that graphic novel in hand, the nice thing about a graphic novel is you could pretty much sell that till the day you die, in a sense. Like, that's the nice thing about once you kind of have a graphic novel. That kind of, like, is there for, that's there for life, in a sense. And it's kind of nice.
The problem is with that, I have a lot of single issues left still.
Yeah. Well, it's not saying that people don't like the single issues. I do notice that I have that weird thing. It's like, it's my midsection of issues is always the more tougher ones to kind of sell, because people either will buy the first issue, or sometimes they'll go straight to the 12th issue, because mine, I do try to hard sell that you could jump into any one. It doesn't matter. You could jump into it. I did it sitcom style for this reason. But then it's like a lot of times my middle ones, because I feel like if they're going to get the middle ones, they're like, well, I might as well just get the graphic novel then. So then I don't sell as many of the middle section of the single issues.
That's why I'm trying to give 6 a little bit of breathing room so I can sell some more of the single issues before I do the graphic novel.
Yeah. But
like, I didn't get as many of 6 I usually get 100. But this time I only got half of 6 because I was like, there's no point overdoing it with 6, with it being the last of the arc.
Yeah.
And if we're going into the graphic novel straight after, I don't want too many of them lying around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would like to get some more. 2 I've got very little of. And then after that, 1's running a little short, but I've got loads of 3, 4, and 5.
Question for both of you. Craig, when Project Saviour, is it more connected through like 6-issue arcs, or is it more like is there some standalone stuff? Or Spencer, your Pizza Boys, you're doing its first continual arc right now. So does that have anything like, all right, let's see how, I know you're not, I know it's a story you've told me about for a long time that you really wanted to do. So I know you're excited about that, but is there any part of you that's kind of like, oh man, I'm going to have to be fast about getting the next one out so people remember what the previous issue was about?
Well, definitely. So, I'll let Craig go first, actually.
Sorry. So mine's usually going to be 6, and then after that 6, there's probably going to be 1 that could just stand by itself. It's not going to kickstart anything major, so it can be like a little bit of a standalone one. But I'm also going to write and draw some standalone stuff to go in the back of the graphic novels, where it's going to be like a case files thing. So every graphic novel, you're going to get a piece at the back, which is like, it's not even going to be like in numerical order. It's going to be like, case 27 found something in the sewer, story about going in the sewer.
To be kind of like a little anthology, like side piece.
Yeah, where like any of these stories could fit anywhere in between any of the books without having any consequence to the ongoing story. So there's always going to be like something else going on after you've read the main story.
And is that presented like kind of more of like a traditional kind of backstory, or is it like kind of like an Alan Moore thing, like at a Watchmen, where you see the file and it almost kind of turns into a novel for a second?
Yeah, so at the end of the plan is for this graphic novel is once you finish like the 6, you turn the page and it's like case file, and then just start straight in they're only going to be like what, maybe 6 to 12 pages, so not like a full-on story. There's just going to be little stories put together. Like, it's been one I've been wanting to tell for absolutely donkeys, where you just find something in the sewer that's like eating people and kids. Kind of like Killer Croc.
Yeah.
But like,
oh, right on.
But like
King
not
or something.
quite like, yeah, just not like, it's not like a big beast. It's just like a giant, like deformed dude that just got cast into the sewer.
That's even creepier.
Yeah.
I think I drew it. I drew the first couple of panels years ago, where it's just like the manhole cover comes off, and then he's in the sewer with like a torch. Because I just loved the idea of him just like bombing around the sewer, just being like, ugh, what the fuck, and then just fight.
Yeah, just he's carrying. I like the idea of carrying the torch around, kind of big and almost kind of reminds me almost like sort of a Solomon Grundy even.
Yeah, and then he's just gonna come across like bones and like skull fragments, and he's just gonna be like, "What in the fuck nuggets have I just come across?"
Well, then you could do the fun thing too, because I always like when books just all of a sudden like it just goes really dark. Like you weren't expecting it to go this heavy dark, and then all of a sudden you just got to some part where it's like, holy shit, this went intense. Like that.
I also want to like play about with genres a bit. So like maybe I could have one that's a bit more supernatural than what's in the main story. Like it's not something I would do in the main story because it's not my area. But like it'd be cool to have like a villain that's very like mystical based. And it's like, well, it's not so much technically canon, but it could be canon. We don't know. It's a gray area, literally.
Well, plus I feel like just giving it that sort of horror feel to like top it off and so on like that would just it'd be fun to play with. Well. Yeah, just sometimes changing up the genres kind of. Yeah, there's something to be said there. That's what even like in Pizza Boys. That's what I always like to do is switch that genre once in a while to make it kind of interesting.
It would be really cool as well to get other people in to do short stories.
Yeah, I've always thought about that myself, is that like to do some side stories and actually have somebody else sort of draw them so I could continue drawing what I was working on and have somebody else work on the other stuff, and then it kind of relates in there, you know.
I think we spoke to Derek about it when it comes to like, would I even give up that sort of like control?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm very defensive over what characters in my book would do. So if I said to someone, all right, do you want to do a story, like write it and draw it and whatnot, and then they came back and he did something completely and utterly against character, I'd just be like,
well,
no.
You see, that's where I would say is you would still write the story. I think that's the important part. As long as you write the story, you just have somebody else kind of do the drawing part of it. I think that would keep it. It still would be the same thing, but you would just have different artists. See, like that's what.
But then what do you do if you get someone in who draws it better than you?
Well, you see, you know, if I asked anybody, that would probably happen to me. So
it's just one of them things where it's like, God damn it, now I'm gonna have to pay this guy to work full time.
You know, because that's what I always thought too. Because speaking of like going back to Ryan's original question, he asked us, is my new run with Pizza Boys, Ninjutsu Sunrise, like going with a kung fu kind of feel? Well, I wrote that into 8 scripts like a madman. That's like 168 pages or something long. Actually, I think it's longer than that. And I have the whole script. I just haven't. I've only got halfway through one issue. And this is the thing I think about the whole time is, I go, that's 7 more issues past here. I'm almost not always the fastest at getting this out. It's continual, so that means I'm stuck with this story for a bit. I actually have a completely different alternative run stories that I could do as well. So there's this weird thing, because I haven't released it yet, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could always can this script for the moment, write my other alternative stories, keep it kind of the same episodic style, and then in the longest run, I don't know, like, even with the one I'm doing, I still kind of feel, even though I'm halfway through, I almost kind of wouldn't mind having somebody else sort of draw this one and let me draw the other. Let me just draw the straight sitcom stuff. And then for my Kung Fu adventure, even though I'm still enjoying it and it still challenges me artistically to try something new, you know, I do have a feeling like, this could be a longer process than I thought.
Not saying it's a good idea, but if you do find yourself like 2 years from now, like, I still gotta do this stupid fucking Kung Fu thing. Why'd I say I do this? If you find yourself doing that, this isn't a good idea, but you could do it to where it's a moment where they're fighting and they're losing. The screen goes black and they're just playing a video game the whole fucking time. That's your out.
That's like a get out of jail free card.
The VHS pops out, the tape's all jacked up.
Or it's like they were playing a fighting game, or they were playing a brawler or something like that. I'm like, God damn it, Kyle! You spilled beer on the NES, you know, or whatever. They were playing Double Dragon or something, you know.
Yeah, like it just kind of does that, you know, and so on. But yeah, no, I mean,
I'm not saying you should do that, but that's your out. That's your like, look, I didn't think this out. I'm fucking done. Not saying you are doing that, because I do like the idea of a kung fu story. And
and it's like I really like my script a lot. Like the script, I think is. I'm really digging it, but I almost kind of, there is that thing where at the end of the day you're like, okay, I'm good at drawing people sitting around talking to each other, cracking jokes, you know what I mean? Now I got to do fight scenes and all, and it's not that I haven't done slight ones before. Like, I mean, that's what Pizza Boys 4 was making kung fu movies with friends, you know, but it's that sort of thing where it's just like, okay, now I'm doing something that's almost like kind of has that like mixed match of like, you know, an anime adventure, you know, feel to like, you know, a beat 'em up game / you know, movies like Three Ninjas and all that stuff from back in the 90s and 80s and so on. So it almost has that like, I'm not overloading myself too much here, hopefully, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. There's still that moment where I'm like, I'm halfway into it. So it's like, I don't know. It's like my other option I've always thought too that I thought would speed up my process that would be kind of nice and it would still keep the look of Pizza Boys but would add into there is I always thought, what if I wrote it and drew it, did the pencil part, but I had somebody else come in and ink it just to speed that process up.
That's not a bad shout.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I always thought like that right there, because I could, you know, a lot of times when it comes to drawing, and I would still do the lettering and all that stuff too, I could probably knock the lettering, the writing, and the drawing out actually probably pretty quick. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I don't know what it is. It's not that I'm against the inking. I like inking, and we just lost Ryan. Something happened there, but it's not that I'm against the inking or anything like that. It's just I feel like by the time I get to the inking part, it always has that feeling like, haven't I already been here before? You know?
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite bits to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is the inking, because it's seeing the rut. It's when you're tidying up the sketch.
Yeah.
And tightening it up. I really like when the inking's done and it just tidies everything up and it just looks crisp.
Well, that's when it makes it pop, and then you finally go, oh, yeah. There it is. There it is.
The bit that almost killed me on 6 was the colouring.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is how backwards I am. I colour it
mm-hmm.
in full colour first, then turn it grayscale.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, I kind of understand that because I used to do that back in the day. I did that exact same thing because I couldn't figure out how to get the proper grayscale that I wanted, but I knew if I colored it and then just
I just take out the saturation of it.
Yeah. So there we go. We got Ryan back now. Nice and easy.
My Wi-Fi just decided to turn off as Wi-Fi does.
Yeah, kind of happens, but no, as Pizza Boys goes, that was always sort of my idea as like an alternative way. Because I'm always trying to think of like, how can I get the process sped up? You know what I mean? Because ideally, in the perfect world, I would be able to get an issue done at least like every 2 months. Even better if I could do one once a month. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's what I would love to be able to be in like that kind of time frame, you know. Yeah. And just be able to knock them out, and so on like that. But I kind of come to the conclusion that if I'm going to get to that kind of speed with, you know, doing everything else and the advertising and so on and all that stuff in between, I almost kind of hate to say it, but I think I'm almost getting to the point where I'm like, I think I do need a team member of some kind to get that speed accomplished.
Yeah. Like I pulled 2 all-nighters trying to get 6 done to hit the deadline for printing.
Yeah.
And I've never put myself in that situation before, and I don't fancy doing it again.
No. Well, it's like, I like drawing. I don't like drawing that much, though. That's what I've always say. I remember it's like, I'm good for a handful of hours, but then my neck starts to hurt, and my wrist do, and my arthritis starts to kick in. And...
It was one of them things where, like, once I was done, and it was sent off, I didn't know what to do. Like, I woke up the next day, and I was like, feels really wrong that I don't have the work to do.
Alexander wept once he realized there's no more world left to conquer.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It felt very strange.
Yeah, so you just kind of get there.
Anyway, guys, not to be this guy, feel free to continue doing the show. I got to get going, but I did really enjoy talking again with you, Craig, as well, talking Superman, as well as listening to hear you guys talk shop on comics and all that. But I actually got to get going.
Well, we probably should wrap it up anyways because we've breached the 2-hour mark. So you know what?
Yeah, and it gets kind of late over the pond.
Yeah, so we're pushing you there. So I feel that's probably a good place to wrap it all up with and so on. And you know what we can always do if we want to talk more is just do another podcast. Oh, no problem, Greg. Glad having you jump back on again.
We'll have to go down the list of DC movies we've yet to cover on the show and do one of these again.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm always game for anything DC.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's just so many of them. I mean, we've done, you know, probably at least half of them, if not more, but there's still that's a good amount that there hasn't been, so.
When we've run out of those, we could probably maybe do the Marvel DVD ones just out of curiosity.
Yeah,
Marvel Streets DVDs.
I wouldn't mind doing some of those. I own some of them, so, yeah, that'd be fun to do as well. But yeah. All that good stuff. Make sure check out Craig's book, Project Saviour. I know you can get it on Amazon, and then you can get it. It's projectsavior.uk?
.co.uk.
Okay, .co.uk. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Go there, grab the book, grab the whole series. You're going to enjoy it. Fun stuff ahead and whatnot. If you want to grab Superman Doomsday, put a little link in the description. You can get it up on Amazon, get the digital copy, get the Blu-ray special edition. Maybe they have a 4K one nowadays. I don't know, but it sends a little something our way maybe. But, yeah, check that fun stuff out. Go to oldmanorange.com. Pizza Boys comics on there, other podcasts, all that fun stuff. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dungan, and our special guest.
I'm Craig Johnson.
And we'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Bye.